Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, and more specifically, I want to discuss this little pattern forming here on the Bitcoin chart. You guys know what that is? If you don't, I'll go ahead and point it out to you. What we have here is what's known as an inverse head and shoulders pattern. We have a shoulder right here, a head right here, and a shoulder right there. Does that make it a little bit more obvious? What we're looking at right now is called an inverse head and shoulders pattern, which actually signifies that we've seen a bottom in Bitcoin, presumably back over here around $3,600, and that perhaps we're about to start moving up and that we're about to see some more bullish price action come here to the Bitcoin chart. Definitely an interesting chart development that we're going to be discussing in today's video, but along with that, we actually have some interesting news coming from none other than Satoshi Nakamoto himself. Now, if you guys are not familiar with Satoshi Nakamoto, then you must be new here. Satoshi Nakamoto, be it a man, woman, child, dog, stop sign, a group of people, whoever Satoshi Nakamoto is nonetheless the creator and the actual first miner of Bitcoin. And back in the day, Satoshi Nakamoto had an account here on the P2P Foundation.com, the foundation for peer-to-peer alternatives, and he hasn't been active on this account since 2011. And interestingly enough, yesterday that changed. As you can see, yesterday Satoshi Nakamoto posted a status that says noir. Now, we're going to be discussing this later on in today's video. Definitely an interesting little post after the account has been dormant for 7 years. Is Satoshi Nakamoto back? We'll be discussing that later on in today's video. So without much further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it. Bitcoin has actually moved up here a little bit over the last 4 or 5 hours. As we can see, Bitcoin on Coinbase is trading around $4,145. We saw a little bit of green come up here after Bitcoin garnered support down here in between $3,900 and $4,000 overnight. Definitely a nice development to see coming from the bulls. I've been expecting for a little while that Bitcoin was going to come down here and retest this $3,600 level or go a bit lower, but that's kind of just getting nitpicky at this point, isn't it? I think Bitcoin is definitely close to its bottom. I could still see it going a bit lower, but I could also see it reversing right now and getting a little bit more bullish exuberance to come in and fill in some of that gap that we still see in the RSI, because as we can see, the RSI is still very, very low. Stochastic RSI has turned green, and we're about to see a bullish cross on the MACD. So I could definitely see the bull's case for this actually coming and playing out, seeing that Bitcoin may be moving up here over the next couple of days. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and do the crypto market recap, and we'll get back on into the TA. As we can see, Bitcoin is up by about 5% here over the last 24 hours and has a daily volume around $5.5 billion. That daily volume is important. We're going to be looking at that daily volume later on. As you can see, we've been getting a lot more recently after Bitcoin dove below $6,000. We'll be discussing that in a little bit more detail here in a little while. Anyway, XRP is currently trading at 37.5 cents, up 4% on the day. Ethereum's at $118, trading 5% up on the day. Stellar's at 17 cents, up 7% on the day. You guys can read the rest. But if we sort by change over the last 24 hours here, we're going to see Waves and actually, as a matter of fact, Factum are the two largest gainers. They're neck and neck right now as the time of recording this video, both gaining by just over 17%. But if we scroll down here, what we're going to see is that the vast majority of the cryptocurrency market is green. We do see some losers. Tether, in fact, interestingly enough, is in the green. I'll discuss why that's interesting in a second. But Theta token, who was a big gainer just a couple of days ago, as you can see here on the 7-day price graphs, is no longer, and it is down by about 10% on the day. Now, the reason I said that it's interesting that Tether is in the green is because when you see the entire market do very, very well, then typically you see that the stable coins like TrueUSD and USD Coin down here are in the red, and TrueUSD and USD Coin are in the red, but Tether is not in the red. Now, why would you expect them to be in the red? Well, all these altcoins have to trade over something. Normally, they're trading over Bitcoin, and if they're not trading over Bitcoin, they're trading over a stable coin. So when you buy a bunch of these altcoins, you have to sell them into the stable coins, and it normally causes their prices to go down, which is interesting, which is why it's interesting that Tether is up 0.16% right now. Nothing really riveting there, but I did want to point that out just so I could show you guys why these stable coins are normally doing the inverse of the rest of the market. It's simply because those are the major trading pairs. Anyway, not a whole lot more we want to discuss here. I've been meaning to talk about Bitcoin dominance, guys, but it's basically just been trading sideways. Nothing really interesting going on there. I figured that might be continuing to go up a little bit, but the fact that it's not and that Bitcoin is maintaining dominance of around 54% might actually be a sign of strength from the altcoins. We'll be discussing that in a future video more than likely. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back on into the Bitcoin technical analysis. If you watched yesterday's video, if I'm here, I will link that in the top right. If that's not linked in the top right, go to the channel and watch yesterday's video. But but in that video, I mentioned how it looked like this inverse head and shoulders pattern was starting to form, and the reason I hadn't talked about it, I noticed it several days ago. I noticed this shoulder right here, and this looked like a head when we started moving up here. I was thinking, inverse head and shoulders pattern, perhaps, maybe, something like that, but I didn't really want to start making TA on it because it wasn't confirmed yet. But now that we've seen this come up here and kind of establish the neckline right around here, this is kind of a weird inverse head and shoulders pattern. I'll give that to you. The neckline is like on a tilt like that, but it does look like one. The fact that we've come down and we've started trading down and then got a bounce right here, now this is confirmed enough that I'm interested in talking about it because it has developed enough. So what's the deal with inverse head and shoulders patterns? If you guys aren't familiar with an inverse head and shoulders pattern, you will probably sometimes see it abbreviated as an IHNS, which just stands for inverse head and shoulders pattern. Essentially, what an inverse head and shoulders pattern is a reversal pattern. And I'll give you guys a good example of what a normal head and shoulders pattern looks like, because one happened very recently. This right here is an example of a normal head and shoulders pattern. You see we have a shoulder right here, a slightly higher head right there, and then another shoulder right there. Typically, a head and shoulders pattern is a bearish reversal pattern. So we see the market is bullish here, goes into the into the bearish head and shoulders pattern here, and comes out of it going bearish. And of course, that bearish price action didn't last long, but it normally is a bearish reversal pattern. An inverse head and shoulders pattern is just this pattern right here flipped, well, on its head. So you see a shoulder, a head, and I'm not going to draw the rest of that because some of you guys are immature, but you see what I mean. That's what that looks like. That's an inverse head and shoulders pattern right here. We have the shoulder, we have the head, and then we have a shoulder right there. Anyway, so the inverse head and shoulders pattern is a bullish reversal pattern because it is a bottoming pattern. This is a bearish reversal pattern because it's a topping pattern. So what does all that gibberish mean? Well, basically what it means is that Bitcoin has gone through a pattern that typically indicates that we're going to see some kind of bullish exuberance come into the market. Now, right now, we've seen Bitcoin move up over the last couple of hours. We've seen it actually create this shoulder with the market going down and then coming back up. Perhaps you could call that an inverse Bart Simpson pattern as well in the grander inverse head and shoulders pattern. But the point is here, there are a lot of technicals pointing towards Bitcoin going bullish. There are many things that are pointing towards Bitcoin going bearish as well. I did a video on that in the last a couple days ago. I'll link that in the top right if I remember to. There's a really good argument for the bulls and for the bears right now, but it seems like the bulls are getting a little bit stronger because the technicals are on their side. Like I showed you earlier, if we come out here to the daily chart, the RSI is starting to move up. That's a bullish momentum sign. We have a bullish cross on the MACD occurring very soon, actually tomorrow, actually today if you want to call it like that. And we have the stochastic RSI moving up into overbought regions, which is typically actually a bullish momentum sign. So a lot of the technicals are pointing bullish. And that's really a good thing for Bitcoin because Bitcoin, I could see it going lower. I could see it going down to $3,000. And in fact, it might even be more healthy for Bitcoin to go that low to really flush everyone out, to really get all this bearish price action out of the way. But if we're going to move up right now, I'm not really going to complain because that could see Bitcoin starting to regain some of this lost ground here in the last couple of days. But anyway, my point is the bulls do have a case right now. They do have a case on the technical. So I could see Bitcoin moving up here, maybe up to $4,000, up to $4,500 or $5,000 and running into some levels of resistance. The weird thing about this inverse head and shoulders pattern is that the neckline looks something like that. Now, the neckline on a normal head and shoulders pattern looks something like this. You got your head and shoulders pattern, and the neckline is the line that you draw right there. Now, for Bitcoin, since it's upside down, of course, you would draw it the other way. You draw it like that. And then that would be the neckline right there. But there isn't really a very clear neckline here on this market at the moment. And that's kind of a strange sign because it means that it's not actually a perfect head and shoulders pattern, and normally the shoulders are on the same level. As you can see, the shoulders are not on the same level. That's a diagonal line. This is a weird head and shoulders pattern. I want to make that clear. This is not a typical example of a head and shoulders pattern, but it could mean something, guys, and it could mean that Bitcoin's going to move up here over the next couple of days. Definitely something you want to keep an eye out for because right now the technicals are actually looking very bullish. Not very bullish, but they're looking more bullish than bearish. The technicals, the indicators and the oscillators I showed you a while ago, these down here are looking bullish for Bitcoin. We saw some bullish RSI divergence recently with Bitcoin making lower lows and the RSI making higher lows, as we can see right here. As we can see right there, we saw Bitcoin doing this. So there's a lot of different things pointing towards Bitcoin moving up here over the next couple of days. How far that's going to go? Well, that's the last thing I want to discuss here because what we saw recently, we saw Bitcoin go into a head and shoulders pattern right here. And normally that indicates a lot of bearish price action, but it only drove Bitcoin down a couple $100. Is the same thing true proportionally for this inverse head and shoulders pattern? And this will only drive Bitcoin up to maybe $4,600, $4,800 at most. Very probably, guys, because Bitcoin is still in a very bearish state after dropping below $6,000. The sentiment is still extremely bearish, and it's going to take a lot for the bulls to keep moving the market in the northerly direction. Tell me in the comments section down below what you think of that analysis. Do you think I am valid in saying that this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern, but that it's probably not going to be the strongest I, H, and S that we've ever seen, simply because of the overall sentiment of the market? I'm interested, as always, to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. I do try to read every single comment, although sometimes it can get hard. If you guys leave like a 1,000-word essay in the comment section down below, I'll skim it, okay? I can't read all of them, okay? You guys understand. If you want to talk, then go ahead and join the Discord server in the description down below, and we'll be more than happy to have a conversation over there. I've been trolling the people that have been joining the Discord server lately anyway. Anyway, that leads us on to the next point of today's video, which is Nour. N-O-U-R. That is the headline for today. Cryptocurrency just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Anyway, Nour and a new friend. Satoshi Nakamoto's P2P, this profile right over here, makes a new post and befriends a user. This fellow, Wagner Tamanaha, is the person we're talking about here. And as we can see, Bitcoin has turned into anonymous with the actual face right there. Anyway, an account once associated with the Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto on the nonprofit global network P2P Foundation posted a one-word status update yesterday on November 29th. And everybody has been going insane trying to figure out what Nour means. Well, I got something to tell you guys. I was out last night and I was really drunk, and I came home and I just kind of hit my head on the keyboard, and that's what popped out. And then this guy, this Wagner Tamanaha guy, he was a friend from high school. I don't know what to tell you guys. It's been like 7 years. I figured I'd post something. I'm kidding, of course. I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto, or at least that's what I want you to think. But anyway, most people are very confused by what this is. They're very confused by what Nour means. What is that supposed to mean? Nour, not Nour. I'm not even sure how you pronounce that because it's not a real word. But anyway, if we keep reading on here, while the account is tied to Satoshi Nakamoto's old email address, satoshi@gmx.com, the same address that reportedly uploaded one of the early Bitcoin papers to the P2P back in 2009. The same email was allegedly hacked in November 2014, 4 years after Nakamoto's withdrawal from traceable online activity in late 2010. Satoshi Nakamoto has been off the grid for 8 years, and it's probably a good thing that he is, because to be totally honest, I would do the exact same thing if I were him, because Satoshi Nakamoto is in a similar boat, but even worse than many other creators of cryptocurrencies like Vitalik Buterin and Charlie Lee from Litecoin. He's in a very weird boat where he's creating a revolutionary technology that actually strips federal governments of their power. And you really want to be careful when you do that, because there's a tendency for governments to go and assassinate people that they don't like. And Satoshi Nakamoto is one of those people. Not necessarily in the last bull run, because we didn't go and fundamentally change the structure of the global banking system, for example, like we very well may in the next bull run. But come in the next couple of years, it's not unlikely that Satoshi Nakamoto just winds up with a bullet in the back of his head. So I completely understand why he's going dark, which is one of the reasons why it makes me very suspicious that this was posted right here, especially considering the fact that the account was hacked a while ago, and especially considering the fact that this is an email account, guys. It's not Bitcoin. It's not the blockchain, which is immutable and unhackable. It's an email account. It's very easy to hack an email account if you really want to. If I were to put money on it, I would probably bet my 2 Satoshis that this is a fake right here, and this was not Satoshi Nakamoto who posted this. For all we know, Satoshi Nakamoto, who is apparently a male, but we don't really know that, for all we know, he might be dead. The Japanese prime minister may have had him assassinated. I'm not pointing fingers or anything because I don't want to be next. But my point is, I highly doubt this was actually Satoshi Nakamoto. But anyway, it did make for an interesting piece of news, because we wanted to talk about Satoshi Nakamoto, because if this is Satoshi Nakamoto, then perhaps we're going to see more come out of this P2P network, and perhaps Satoshi Nakamoto is going to start making appearances in places. Perhaps he's worried about Bitcoin. Perhaps he wants to go and do something with those like 500,000 Bitcoin that Satoshi Nakamoto has squirreled away somewhere. This opens up a big can of worms about what Satoshi Nakamoto is still doing in the cryptocurrency space. Is he still active in the cryptocurrency space? Is he still developing the cryptocurrency and just no one knows about it? Is he dead? I mean, there's a lot of questions around Satoshi Nakamoto, which is one of the things that gives Bitcoin just the mysterious awesome factor that it has, because the creator of it is worth billions of dollars because of the amount of Bitcoin he's still holding, or at least he's still allegedly holding. But hasn't done anything with it, which says a lot about Satoshi Nakamoto. It says that he seemed to care much more about his global Bitcoin vision than the actual immediate riches that he could have if he were to go to Binance and start selling that Bitcoin he owns. Anyway, like I said, I'm not going to read through all of this because I don't really think that there's a lot of people are speculating on what noir means, and because it is in quotes, there's a lot of people speculating what this means. There's an Arabic translation that means for light. There's a Hebrew translation. There's an Aramaic translation. You guys can read through all this and all the theories if you want. I'm not going to get into them because, to be quite honest, I think it's probably just a hacked account and doesn't mean anything, and someone's just trolling the internet. Anyway, guys, that's basically going to do it for this video. Like I said, I didn't mean to confuse you guys. I was very, very drunk one night, and I just went ahead and did that. I'm kidding, of course. I wasn't drunk. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. You will get notified whenever a video goes live, and that will benefit both of us. Anyway, let's wrap the video up here. Like I said, I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.